to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirsho here. Now then, whenever we last left off, I believe I said Deku was going to inject nanobots into his system. So let us begin. Deku, he is between the age of 8 and 9 right now, I believe. So, yeah. Now, along with that, him and Mei have actually been working on the synthetic muscle for their suits. So yeah, now, Deku, he is asking this retired pilot exactly how it feels to have nanobots in the system, and how come they're still in his system. To which he would say that they kinda do a little special injection. Basically, they take certain parts of your body and inject the nanobots in specialized places. Along with that, they like to try and keep them filtered throughout your bloodstream, and only in your blood. There's a specialized way of doing that, since if you do that, you would still have to take injections, but just not as regularly. Like if you were to swallow a pill of nanites, which confuses Deku. Now, the man would just talk with Hasashi, saying that is he sure he really wants to do this. He would just say that he'd rather help his son do this and not have him get injured, or, well, rather than his son doing it himself and getting badly injured. Besides, this boy here's always been determined. I mean, as he would just point out, saying that he made a Titan, and he didn't even have to help him. He's also got an AI for that Titan, so he might as well be a pilot already. Now, with that being said, this is whenever Deku, he would just sit down in a chair, and he just folds his arms over it, as he is told that he's going to be taking 2 injections in his spine, the back of his neck, and, well, 1 in the side of his arms. Both of them, in fact. So this is going to hurt a lot, as Hasashi would just pull out a rag and tell Deku that he needs to bite down on it. Otherwise, it's going to be very loud. Also, he needs to make sure to not move, since this can really end badly. Deku wouldn't believe it as he watches his dad fill a giant needle full of this liquid, which is the tiny nanobots. Deku would just hold out his arm as his dad would inject Deku right on the vein, and then the other one. Deku would somewhat feel these act up in his system for a second, but he's being told that he's going to need a minute, as Hasashi would prepare the next doses. Deku would just be sitting back in the chair as he is ready. Hasashi would inject him directly in the spine, well, in his lower back, and Deku would somewhat wince in the pain as Hasashi would pull the needle out, and immediately cover it with, well, a bandage, as he would do the same for Deku's upper spine, I believe right in the back of the neck, as Deku is basically forcing himself not to move, as the old man is actually pressing down on Deku's shoulder blades, so that he doesn't flinch. Now, after that happens, Deku would get a patch up right there, as he asks BT if he can monitor his heart rate, to which BT would be doing so. BT would just say that everything seems to be normal, and that he should be fine, as he would get up and turn around. He would just tell his dad that that wasn't so bad, to which he would just say that right now it wasn't, but you were getting one thing, as he would just hold up a little vial, saying that he's going to need to inject these ones directly into his neck, which is whenever Hisashi would just tilt Deku's head forward or to the side and press onto his neck as he injects them directly into the vein there, having them run completely throughout his blood system. As the next couple of minutes would pass, Deku would somewhat be breathing a little heavy, as his body begins to adjust. Now, May, she would have walked in as she's asking exactly what happened. Because she can see the patches on his arms and the back of his neck poking out from his shirt. And just for a brief summary, Deku is actually wearing one of these. So, yeah. Deku would just say that he kinda went through with it and decided to get a little nanites. As he does one thing, walking over to his workstation, somewhat stumbling around a little. As he is actually told by his dad just to sit down and, well, try to stay calm. He's still adjusting. Now, Deku, he would have at least made it to Maze as he would sit down at the table and watch exactly what she's doing. She would begin by drinking some hot cocoa and actually starting to get her creative mind flowing as she begins to make a helmet. Now, Deku, he would just be looking at this as he asks her exactly what's the helmet for. Which is whenever she would just say that his little Titan project somewhat gave her a bit of an idea. So she's trying to create her own little, well, suit. We're both going to need those synthetic muscles, so as she would hold up her arm, showing she's actually wearing one, saying that she's been trying to figure out exactly what the flaws would be with these ones. Well, that's a good point. As Deku, he would just have one sitting in front of him. He would reach out for it, grabbing it and pulling it closer, as he somewhat scans it over. He scans it and finds that, aside from the material being a bit too thin, that seems to be the only problem. But, well, it's a bit different than that. He feels like he's missing something. So he would just tell BT if he can scan this for him, as he holds his hand out. BT would scan it and ask exactly what Deku was looking for, to which Deku would just say ways to improve. As BT would just tell Deku that the only way he can see him improving this is possibly finding a way to counteract shock absorption. This would confuse Deku for a minute until he realizes BT is thinking about Deku actually wearing the jump boosters, or the pack that pilots wear. As Deku actually does ask May where that one is, as he uses his quirk for a second. He begins to scan everything around him as he's looking for tech. He would have found it in a walk over to the cabinet, as he would open it up and find this little piece. Asking May if he can try making improvements or creating a version 2. Which is whenever she's just sitting down, telling Deku that that's fine. Just please be careful. He would say alright as he goes over and looks to see if they have anything to replicate and create another one of these. Deku, he would have found parts and certain pieces and began doing so, as he would have created version 2 in less than a couple of hours, and BT would have gotten it somewhat operational. Now, Deku would go to bed that night and he doesn't feel tired. He hasn't had coffee in a while, he hasn't had anything to drink for what feels like all day. But he doesn't feel tired either, so what's going on? Is this the nanites, or is it just because I have insomnia? Or is my brain still awake? Well, not awake, but... As Deku would spend most of his night awake, until he gets a little bit of sleep. Waking up the next morning, he would find that he slept with his goggles on, so not that big of a deal. As he walks downstairs and goes into the kitchen. he would turn to his mom as he would just ask her exactly what is for breakfast. And then she would just turn to Deku, asking exactly what happened. As Deku's a bit confused, he would look down, seeing that his body is a bit more toned out, and actually a little bit more muscular. He begins by looking at his arms, then looking down to where his belly button is, finding that he's missing a bit of muscle, but he looks leaner. His dad would walk in, asking Deku exactly what's going on, and that he needs to put on his shirt. He would just look up, seeing exactly what is wrong, as Deku's a bit confused. He would ask his dad if this happened a lot, but his dad would just say that normally pilots, they had a little bit of changes, but this is a bit different. Did you get a little taller? This is interesting. So, what exactly did you do? I let him have a bit of nanobots. You injected her son with nanobots. Well, yes. Jesus, Hisashi. You need to learn better to not do that. Well, actually, Mom, I was gonna do it whether he helped me or not. You are my son, aren't you? What do you mean? Well, might as well. As she would walk over to a closet, she would pull out a helmet, as she would hand it over to Deku along with another jump pack, saying she was kind of hiding this from him, but might as well just let it all out in the open. She used to be a pilot. She's always supported Deku and seen his little dreams as cute. She, however, found it to be a bit too dangerous. Hisashi, he was actually a scientist she knew. Exactly how they met. It wasn't just that I was an engineer. I wasn't just some girl off to college. Me and your dad used to work together. Which completely confuses Deku for a second. He would just grab the helmet and look at it, seeing a couple marks on it, asking exactly whose helmet was this, as she would say one name. She would say the pilot, well, Alpha, which confuses Deku for a second. He would have turned around and exactly asked, Pilot Alpha? Wait, the Pilot Alpha? Which is whenever Deku's mom, would just say yes. She was a pilot. But she kind of gave up on it after a little time. Things were not fun, especially after a little falling out with one of her friends. That sentence confuses Deku entirely. Now, he would have gotten a little bit of a better explanation, as he would have gone to school, stuffing the helmet in his backpack. As later on in the day, he would be talking with Mei at lunch. Deku is quiet and he's just looking down at his notes and just scribbling things down. He's scribbling a picture, as Mei is asking him exactly what is he doing. To which she would see that he's working on a bit of designs. He's working on a pulse blade, a cloak, and what seems to be a shield? No, wait, that's a shield generator. She would finally do one thing, snapping her fingers in front of Deku's face, finally getting his attention, as he would look up. She would just ask Deku if he's okay, to which he would say yes. It's just... You remember Pilot Alpha? Yeah. She was a pretty big deal back then. Yeah. Apparently, my mom and my dad. My mom was an engineer, and she didn't just meet my dad, she was a pilot. Which is whenever May would just turn to Deku asking what does he mean. As Deku would just open his bag. May would look inside, seeing a helmet, as she recognizes a few of the scratches on it. Now, Deku would just tell her to calm down, as eventually the day would end, and they would go to the facility. Now then, after that, May would just ask Deku exactly why has he not told her about his mom, to which he would explain he just found out today, along with he just found these, as he would lift up his shirt revealing a couple abs, to which May would somewhat laugh. She would just say if Mr. Big Shot's very muscular now, then go pick up the wrench, as Deku would walk over. Deku would immediately pick up the wrench as he's just holding it in one arm, May being a bit confused, as Deku would just somewhat toss it back and forth between two hands. May would just say that can't be the right wrench, which is whenever Deku would walk over and hold it outwards toward her. She would have extended her arms as Deku would have dropped it, and she would somewhat fall forward. Now then, let us time skip to 2 to 1.5 years later. So around the age of 10 to 11. Deku and May, they've gotten their devices working, as Deku and her are in a simulation. Now, they've created two of the piloting pods to go into virtual reality, so they can test out different designs and ways to use their mechs. As that's happening, Deku and her, they would break the game, as you can call it, and eventually they would find it tiring, as whenever they do come out of the simulation, Deku would just say that is not as fun. Besides, this is a bit annoying. It's nothing like the real thing. Well, if you want to fight fair, then we can fight fair. Which is when Deku would just look over, saying that May shouldn't try that. Besides, I've seen what you've been building, I've seen pieces to it. I don't think it would be as good as what I built. Which is when May would just stare down Deku, asking him if that's a challenge. To which Deku would somewhat say yes. Now, May would just tell Deku to get ready then. They are going to have a bit of a battle. As Deku would just say alright, running over and jumping up into BT. As the bay would close. May would just stare at that for a second as she would just think that was actually pretty cool. Now then, as soon as Deku jumped up into the armor, he somewhat just threw his goggles down to his neck and pulled the helmet he had sitting in the cockpit over his head, as this is his mother's alpha helmets, asking BT if he's ready. He doesn't know what May is going to throw at them, but from what he's seen her work on, it may not be very easy. So, are you ready, bud? To which BT would just say ready as ever. Now, Deku, he would have walked outside, as he is waiting on May. As May would walk out in one simple design. She walks out in the Warhammer 40k armor. Just without the... without the religious parts on it. She would have walked out on it, as Deku would be a bit confused. May, bringing her hands upwards, pulling off the helmet, would just ask Deku if he's ready. To which he would just look in shock, asking exactly what is that? Well, I was trying to go for it a bit smaller than BT, or the ion, but well, you kinda got me there. This puppy I've been designing for quite a while. In fact, I showed you them. Or I showed you the chassis. So you're telling me I built that thing's chassis? Well, hey, you helped to design it. I still built it. As May would get annoyed, charging straight at Deku, which is whenever BT would just throw out Protocol 3, protect the pilot, as he would react by catching the fist and cocking the arm backwards, throwing it into May, as he would have somewhat knocked her over and sent her flying a little bit, as some of the engineers would be coming outside. They would have seen this happen, as the sound of metal clashing is not something to be mistaken. Besides, that's gonna be very easy to hear. Now, as soon as that happens, the facility, they somewhat get notified as people will begin running out and actually watching this. As May would get up saying that they're gonna have a little bit of a challenge. Whoever can outlast each other, well, that just proves who's the better engineer. As Deku would just say that that's fine then. As he would just, inside the mech, ask BT if there's any other way to make this a bit better, or more realistic and easier for him. To which BT would just say that they have skipped Protocol 1, link with the pilot. As Deku, he just thinks about that, asking BT exactly what he would need to do. BT would just say that he needs to bring his head all the way back and into the chair. As Deku would have done so, May would have begun charging forward. Deku would have thrown his head forward, as BT would begin reacting to what May is doing, somewhat picking her up and beginning to push her away, if not throw her around. As he would have began by running straight to the left and then to the right, as he would come in, picking up May and smashing her into the ground. Deku somewhat being thrown around the inside, basically having a seatbelt run over his lap, the only thing keeping him in place. As Deku's head would have finally hit the back of the chair and he would link with BT. As this would happen, Deku would feel his perspective somewhat change, as he is now able to see out of the eye, or the thing above. Now, he would begin by just telling BT that that was a bit strange. Protocol 1, link with pilot. Protocol 2, uphold the mission. Protocol 3, protect the pilots. As Deku would just somewhat be looking at his hands for a second, not paying attention to May. May would have just gotten up as BT would have warned Deku. Deku would have turned around, seeing the May throwing a fist, bringing his leg upwards, moving backwards as May would have punched into the leg. Deku would have moved forward, punching and actually throwing a fist into May's 40k armor. Now, as soon as that happens, these two would begin fighting, as they actually do get into somewhat of a grapple match. Now, as soon as that happens, this is whenever some employees and engineers are actually cheering them on, as a couple of scientists are trying to place bets on something. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? They don't know. Now, before this can go any further, though, this is whenever a man would walk up and break up the fight. As this is Hisashi, accompanied by his boss. Which is whenever the woman next to him would just say that that is enough. She didn't think that there were any pilots on the premises, but Mr., as she would say the 60-year-old man's name, you are fired. Now please get out of the mech suit. As the mech would open, revealing Deku as he would just ask exactly what's wrong. Which is whenever the woman will be in shock, asking exactly who is he? Oh, my name is Izuku. I see. As she would begin flipping through the list she has. turning to Mr. Midoriya, saying that this is your son. Well, yes, I'm sorry about this. It's just he's very creative. Earning first place, creating an AI, and I'm guessing this is from scratch, as she would walk over, running her hand on the robot, saying that this is actually the newest medal they have. Quite impressive. As she would just say that this feat of engineering is very good. This boy will be a good pilot one day. As she would just say that next time, get the right forms submitted for weapons testing. Also, as she would look over saying that one, she's guessing that is the other young one, or Miss Hatsume's daughter, correct? As May would just open up and take off the helmet, saying that is correct, as Miss Hatsume is trying to hide her face. Her boss would just say that is impressive. A pilot who isn't a pilot. That's quite funny. Now, she would just walk away. As Hasashi, he would just tell Deku that was not supposed to work like that. Deku would just get up from BT's chair and boost out of it, as he would have landed in front of his dad, saying that it'll be alright. As everyone just starts chanting pilot. Now then. While that's happening, May would somewhat have her suit open as she gets out. The suit would just be standing there as her mom would just run up asking her exactly what did she do. And why did she create this thing? To which she would just say that she didn't want to copy Deku. He's going for a pilot and I'm going for something different. I swear, if you didn't get your drive from me, I'd say this is bad. Now, that is going to be where I leave things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.